Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's virtual program. We're going to be exploring New York City stair streets with our friend Michael Cairl. His goal is really to explore all of New York City's stair streets, which if you don't know what that is, you will very soon. And it's not just about the streets, it's about the neighborhoods and the people and the history. And so really, Michael is a friend of ours. We've known him for years. We first met back when we started bicycle tours at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and he was involved in that project. And he's just a really knowledgeable person about New York City, about its infrastructure, its history, and we're just so pleased that he's taken the time to be with us this evening. For those of you that might be less familiar with Turnstile Tours, we are a mission-driven tour company that works in partnership with different nonprofit organizations. And our goal is really to elevate stories that are underrepresented in the public record through the work that we do. Speaking of which, this evening, the program that we're doing is you're supporting an organization that we actually support through our tours, which is Adaptability. It's a nonprofit organization that makes adaptive bicycles. And on some of the public tours that we offer, we actually visit Adaptability to learn more about how they make adaptive bicycles for people with disabilities. So we'll talk a little bit more about Adaptability because this is a nonprofit that both Michael and our team at Turnstile Tours really supports, and it has done so much for so many people. So thank you for joining us tonight and for supporting Adaptability. All right, so I'd like to welcome Michael to the program. All right, so thank you. Thank you so much, Michael, for being here tonight. And for people who maybe are not as familiar with your background and your blog, On Foot on Wheels, could you tell us about your background and how you started this project?
Well, thanks. I had a stroke 3 years ago this month, and I had to learn to walk again and do some other things again. Walk I surely do now. And one day, summer of last year, just decided to go out to Fort Tilden in Rockaway. I hadn't been there since before the stroke, and it was a summer day. Let me go out there. And I really wanted to see if I could make it up to this viewing platform at the top of Battery Harris East, which is this big concrete gun bunker built before World War II. The guns are long gone, but the Park Service maintains a walkway and a set of stairs going up to the viewing platform. I wanted to see if I could do this. So I walked from the bus stop to the foot of the stairs. I looked up, yeah, I can do this. So it was about 66 steps up, and it was well worth it. And I remember on the bus going back thinking, you know what, next up, I'm going to do the 215th Street stairs in Inwood. And that really got me going with this. And as we go through this tour, you'll see some images of those stairs. But this quickly became kind of a fusion of my love of the city and wanting to get out and do these things for both physical therapy and for fun. And as we go through this, you'll see that a lot of the places I go to are well off the tourist trail, and they're well worth the trip.
Absolutely. And in fact, I've had the pleasure in the last few months of going on a few of these walks. We can see this one here.
Yeah.
And could you tell us where this is, but maybe not too much about it, because we're also going to play a clip of you introducing the space.
Yeah, this is an actual New York City street. It's called Marble Hill Lane, and it's in a neighborhood called Marble Hill, which is attached to the Bronx, but is really part of Manhattan. And we'll talk more about that.
Great. Okay. So I'd just like to give people a taste of what it's like to go on one of these walks with you, because it is about climbing the stair streets. It's about exploring a neighborhood. It's about socializing. But it's also about the knowledge you have to share about these different places. And so Andrew is behind the scenes. And Andrew, if you could please pull up the video where Michael kind of shares a little bit more about Marble Hill and these stair streets.
This set of stairs is called Marble Hill Lane. And Marble Hill is actually politically part of Manhattan. It didn't always used to be connected to the Bronx. Just north of here, where 230th Street is, there used to be what was called Spite and Dibble Creek. And in the 1890s, the current path of the Harlem River was cut through south of here, but the politics never changed. So, although if you look on a map, Marble Hill is connected to the Bronx, it's still part of Manhattan. So, interesting tidbit. And Marble Hill is a very hilly little area, which we will see in a moment.
Want to point out again, accessibility,
Yeah.
too short.
Yeah. This is our third set of steps. And we've just noticed that a lot of the railings must predate the ADA up here. Well, I guess we're in Manhattan, but some of the steps we've done have been in the Bronx and they've not been accessible. And we can kind of see that. We can see that here. So it just gives people a taste. And then, and I do have a historical photo if you'd like me to show that.
Sure.
That's illustrative from that same kind of area.
This is from 1909. What's now the #1 subway is that elevated structure in the background. It had only recently been built. And this shows a man casting his net into Spite and Dibble Creek. So this is looking north and west. And you'll see a little building kind of toward the upper left corner. Behind that and behind the elevated structure is where Marble Hill is. And that body of water that he's fishing in has long since been filled in.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's so great. I mean, I've learned so much just on the 2 walks that we've been on, and it's been really fun.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the journeys that you've made, tell us a little bit more about your blog and how you structure it, and if people wanted to follow in your footsteps, so to speak, could they do that?
Yeah. So my blog is called On Foot on Wheels. It hosted on Squarespace, and I look not only at stair streets of New York, but what I call other walks around town, which are good, challenging walks that don't involve stair streets. And then I look at accessibility and a bunch of other things, like posted past favorite bike rides and a bunch of other things. But and the accessibility page is where I really get going, talking about what needs to be done differently in the transit system and the built environment. And I have some good video clips on there too. But the section that deals with stair streets is called the Stair Streets of New York City. And I usually take a number of stair streets that are near each other and try to combine them into a walk. Yeah, this is a look at the accessibility page. I always give each walk a semi-catchy title, like Overhill and Through More of Riverdale. And I always include a profile, showing how much of a vertical we've got, and provide a map. So if you want, you can do these on your own. And I'm starting to post these in advance on the events page. So anyone who wants to join me, please do. And I've got 3 scheduled for the month of December, all up in the Bronx. That one sort of parallels #5 subway line. and then there will be one in Van Cortlandt Park, and then one that will more or less parallel Pelham Parkway, but look at a Catholic shrine and a house with a year-round Christmas display.
Oh, that's so fun. That's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I encourage people to join Michael. And speaking of joining us, if you're watching, we'd love to hear your questions and make this as interactive as possible. And in fact, we have a question from the audience, Michael. The question is, how did you identify stair streets? They said in Pennsylvania, we have many stairs up hills built by WPA to connect various parts of town, but they are not usually officially mapped streets.
Yeah. I knew about some of them beforehand, and somewhere I found an old New York City Department of Transportation list of stair streets, and I replicated that in an Excel spreadsheet. I've lost the original link, but I've recently posted my list on my blog. Under the stair streets of New York City, the page entitled Introduction to Stair Streets, and then I added a link to that, and it's a PDF so you can look at it easily. But there are like 104, 105 stair streets, and having done a few of them, I was eager to find more, and there are other websites out there that deal with trips to different stair streets. Forgotten New York is one of them, and others have looked at different stair streets, but and I understand a few of them are trying to do all of them, but you know, the resources are out there, and I just got really curious, and having done the one in Inwood, there's got to be more, and we couldn't wait to do more.
Shall we look at the very first one? I think it's the first one that you did.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it this one? Is it West 215th
Yes,
Street?
yes.
Okay, so let's take a look and see if you could walk us through what we're seeing here.
Yeah, so this is actually a double stairway. We're looking at the foot of the stairs, which is on Broadway, and the double stairway is bisected by this really pretty planted median. And so there's this inscription at the bottom, which is so apropos. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and that's been a great inspiration, not only for these walks, but also dealing with stroke therapy. That it really keeps me going, and that says what I feel practically every day.
It's really unbelievable that your very first set of stairs in this journey had this quote right at the foot of it, you know?
Yeah, I know.
It's really powerful.
And this is the foot of the opposite set of stairs. After climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. Nelson Mandela. That is so true.
Yeah.
And, so this is looking up the stairs. You can see the median on the right, and there are flights of 11 steps, and they're marked like 11, 22, 33, as well as how high up you've gone from Broadway. It's a total of 110 steps, and it's a great feeling to get to the top. And once I got to the top, I saw a pair of little old ladies who live in the neighborhood who hang out there every single day.
That's awesome. Did you get to talk to them?
A little bit, yeah. They said that this was just a place where they like to sit and gossip, and they were the first of many sets of neighborhood characters I've found in these walks.
I mean, it must feel amazing to you also to kind of look down on you know, once you've made it to the top of such a steep climb.
Oh, definitely. And you know, it's one thing to look up. You know, yeah, I get up there, but this really puts how far I climbed into a whole different perspective, and Broadway is way down there.
We have another question, which is about, Helen asked, are the stairs from Jerome Avenue near 166th Street in the movie The Joker is that considered a stair street? And she said she grew up there.
The answer is they're both considered stair streets, and I've climbed both of them. And Cindy and I did the Joker stairs just recently. And it had been my second time climbing those. I've also done the stairs at 166th Street. And there's one more set just south of there at 165th that'll be on a future walk.
So this here was the walk. You're sticking it to the stroke, stair climb and gallivant on October 31st, which was also a fundraiser for adaptability. And so could you walk us through the route here? And then I actually do have some photos. By the way, everything that's in this slideshow is from Michael's blog. So you should go dig in deeper. We just pulled out a few highlights to make them bigger on the screen. But yeah, if you could walk us through what we did this day, how you thought about designing the route, and then we'll kind of look at pictures of the Joker steps, and we also have a video.
Yeah, so the genesis of this was I was at a party and was talking to someone I had never met about stair streets, and he said, "You should do this as a benefit." And I said, "Yeah, you're right." So that very evening, I mapped this out and set it up, and decided, who better to do it as a benefit for than adaptability. So I figured, do the Joker stairs and get up to High Bridge and High Bridge stairs as well. These would definitely be crowd pleasers, and we could do it in a moderate length walk. So we all gathered in front of Yankee Stadium, through easy place to meet up. And we started from there and walked to the Joker stairs you see on the map, 1172 Anderson Avenue. That's at the top of the stairs. So we walked there and then walked through the High Bridge neighborhood. It's mostly uphill to get to the High Bridge, which is a story in itself, and it's a wonderful place if you've never gone there. Then there was another set of stairs in High Bridge Park going up to the pool, and from there we went to Havana Heights Restaurant and at 172nd and Broadway, and ate and drank.
It was really fun. Really great experience. And we'll see, this is the elevation from the day. One thing I noticed on the walks with you is that you count the number of steps as you're going up. Is that recorded anywhere else? Do you know?
I don't know if it's recorded anywhere else, but I record them on my blog.
Mm-hmm. So if people want to check that out, they can see how many steps they can anticipate if they want to follow the route.
Mm-hmm. So my longtime friend Clarence Eckerson Jr., he's the guy behind Street Films. When I told him about this, he said, "I'm going to do a video." So it was great, and he did a really fun video and took some nice stills. This is at the top of the Joker stairs, so where you can see it's kind of a ways down to Shakespeare Avenue. And this is near the top of the stairs, kind of the Joker theme and local graffiti.
And we do have the video, and thank you so much to Street Films for making this. I'm so glad that they documented your story and this walk, this benefit walk. So we're going to take a look at that.
Right on time. Hey. Right on time. How are you?
Outstanding. I'm Michael Cairl, and for over a year I've been climbing stair streets in New York City for fun and for physical therapy. I had a stroke just about 3 years ago, and we're doing this as a benefit for adaptability. They provide mobility for disabled kids. They actually provided an adaptive tricycle for me. We're going to climb the Joker stairs, then we'll walk over to the High Bridge, which is generally uphill getting there. When we get to Manhattan, we'll climb an additional 96 steps to get up into High Bridge Park. And at the end, we'll have done 2 sets of stairs and walked 2 miles.
I met Michael probably like 3 years ago, and at this point, he's not just a regular at my restaurant. We've become really good friends. We hang out all the time. We go to lunch just about every week. He just inspires me to keep moving, no matter what. Nothing ever stops him.
Onward.
Onward?
Yeah.
Yes. He's worked really hard.
One of the people here today, she ran the rehab unit at Brooklyn Methodist Hospital when I was a patient there. So she was in charge of all the physical and occupational therapy that I got.
So in Michael's case, he had to learn how to completely feed himself again, dress himself, bathe himself, and as the occupational therapist, that was my main focus with him, along with a few of my counterparts, to get him to be able to be as independent as possible.
This stairway was featured in the film Joker in 2019, and the title character does a dance on the stairs. And ever since then, it's become discovered and somehow ended up on the Bronx's tourist trail. It's 132 steps, and it's a great climb.
I'm very inspired by what Michael's been able to do with help from a lot of different people. I know he's working really hard.
Do the Rocky stance! Yes, Michael! Woo-hoo!
The High Bridge is the oldest bridge in New York City. It opened in 1848, and it was built to carry the Croton Aqueduct from the Bronx to Manhattan. And onward to the High Bridge.
I've been saying I've wanted to walk the High Bridge for years. I grew up in New York City. Mike's giving me that chance now to not just walk it, but to share his insights. This is really special.
His determination is what made it miraculous and beautiful to watch him recover from what he has had to endure. So I'm so proud and so honored to be here with him.
Me and these two gentlemen, we met back in 1999-ish, Brooklyn, TA, and we've known each other a long time. Some of the oldest friends I have in New York City.
It's great to see new friends, co-workers, old friends joining me for this.
Woohoo!
Woo! Woo! Way to go, Michael! All right. Woo!
Thank you.
Oh, that was fun.
It's such a great, it's that just like takes you on a journey. I mean, it really reflects the experience that it was.
Yeah.
Helen is sharing in the chat that indeed the Joker steps, she said it's a lot of stairs, and she knows because she climbed them every day to go to school
Nice.
when she was a kid. So she said, thanks for sharing her question. She also said it was tough in the winter with snow. So that's a question that I have for you. You're going to keep doing this through the winter? Have you done it in the winter time? I mean,
Yeah, I've done it in the wintertime. If there's stuff on the ground, I won't do it. I love snow, but since the stroke, snow is not really my friend. So I'll wait till there isn't snow on the ground. And but if it's clear, cold temperatures don't stop me.
What about the longest stair street? So is there, what is that? I know we went past it, and it's in the Bronx, right?
Yeah. It's up in Riverdale, and it's West 230th Street. It's not to be confused with 230th Street in Kingsbridge, which is also a stair street.
Let's see here. I think we have a photo. There we go.
Yeah. That's the bottom part of the stair street. It's the first block. That's my friend Janelle in the foreground. It's 3 blocks long, and it's 273 steps all told. And people actually use it to get to and from. But it's quite a hike. And you get to the top of the first block, that's good. Then get to the top of the second block, you start feeling a little winded. Then it's an additional set of stairs up to the third block, and you've earned a good rest.
We can see you headed up here.
Yeah, that's in the first block. The stairs are in excellent condition. The railings are at the right height. that's a great shot. Give you a sense of just how high up you end up going. I think that's at the top of the first block.
Yeah. Wow. Look at that.
And then that's top of the second block.
Mm-hmm.
And in the third block, there's actually a turnout to the entrance to the private house.
So does that mean the person who lives there, in order to get to their house, they have to climb these steps?
Yes. and that's at the very top.
Wow. I mean, it's really nestled in here between all the houses.
Yeah. It's kind of scenic. That house with the private entrance is a nice old house. But man, that was good exercise. And the two friends I had with me that day, they knew and they didn't know what they were in for.
Now you, there are some of the steps that are, we have a question here from Bob Levine, and he wanted to know more about the specialized trike that you've used in the past, and more information about adaptability if possible.
Yeah. I was introduced to adaptability by a friend of mine, and Sandra Alfonso, who heads up adaptability, and I just hit it off instantly. And she came up with, that's Sandra on the right. She came up with an adaptive tricycle that was custom built for me, and was set up so I'd have to work both my arms and my legs, to pedal and also to crank the handlebars. The idea to give me as much therapy as possible. And the way it was set up, I really couldn't ride solo. Yeah, that's a good shot of it. It's a big machine, and my feet would be strapped in of necessity, and my body was strapped in. But I could go out with one other person and go all over the place. I went all around Prospect Park, went out Eastern Parkway, and in most cases just stuck to bike lanes and bike paths. But I've been a cyclist all my life, and to be able to do this, it was so liberating.
And it was just so kind of Sandra. It was so great of her to make that bicycle that's really custom fit to you, which is really what she specializes in. And people can go to adaptability, not only for adaptive bicycles, but they also are now she's hosting all kinds of workshops, teaching people how to repair their bicycles, and all the proceeds. She does programs for kids and for adults. So she does a series of classes. You could really get certified as a bicycle mechanic. And we also, if you want to learn more about adaptability, we actually did a program with Michael and Sandra.
Yeah.
I guess now this was last
September last year, I think.
Okay, that's right. And you rode your bicycle, your tricycle that day, or trike. And we went live to Sandra, and she shared some of her designs with us. And I mean, what's so inventive about her work, I think, is that she comes up with low cost solutions that are so pragmatic and really help people with a variety of needs.
Yeah, and she gave up a career as an accountant to do this. And Sandra is truly a force of nature, and adaptability is such a great organization.
Yeah.
Very touched to know her and to have benefited from it.
And I think one of the things that you and I share is a real passion for accessibility. And certainly I found it very interesting on the walk with you to see that there were some steps and some stair streets, as was mentioned in that first video, where they're not accessible. And obviously they're not accessible because they're steps, but then there's another layer, right, which has to do with the railing height. Could you tell us about what you've noticed in terms of stair streets that were predate the ADA, and what you're doing with this information when you spot inaccessible stair streets?
Sure. So a lot of the stair streets are old, and as you mentioned, they predate the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is 1990. And so a lot of them either need to be rebuilt because they just normal wear and tear, or the railings are too low, or the railings might be broken. I did one stair street in the Bronx back in October that had no railing at all. It had kind of a medium height balustrade that I probably should have just either attempted to climb only using my cane or skip the whole thing altogether, because I put out my back after having done that. But in order for the stairway to be really useful, it needs to be well maintained, and it has to be such that you can easily hold on to it for going up or going down. Back to the Marble Hill stairs we looked at before, even allowing for the fact that I'm tall, those railings are a little low, and I mean, they're not falling apart, but if they were even 6 inches higher, they would be a lot more usable. As it was, I had to lean down to hold on to those, and that's not comfortable, and it's not necessarily safe either. And so I point these out in my blog posts where the railings need to be replaced, or the stairs need to be repaired, or both, and giving people warning that, you know, almost climb at your own risk. But I'm trying to get this information out to the Department of Transportation also, because it is part of their remit to make sure these are well maintained.
Yeah, and that's actually a question that Andrew just asked, is maintaining these stairs the responsibility of the DOT, the Department of Transportation?
Yeah, and in nearly every case it is. You and I did a stair street up on the Bronx a couple of weeks ago, West 231st. The first block of it goes through a park, so it's Parks Department, but the second block is transportation. So somehow we need to get the two of them together to work on the stairs. Fortunately, they're in pretty decent shape.
And you're no stranger to accessibility in transportation either.
No, I've for a lot of my career, I've worked on transit projects, different types around the country, and more recently, I've got into working on accessible upgrades to subway stations in this city, whether in the design review stage or trying to write specifications, but just and calling the engineers and architects to account. You know, why did you do this? Or how are you going to assure that the water doesn't pond in front of the elevator? Stuff like that. And we really need to take a holistic look at, you know, it isn't just putting a ramp in an elevator, it's making sure it's smart design, and drumming that into the heads of the people who are actually designing this. And all this goes back to about a dozen years ago. I was working on a light rail project in Norfolk, Virginia, and we're looking at one of the stations one day, and one of my colleagues pointed out something. He said, "That's a tripping hazard. That needs to be fixed." And right away, I became aware that, yeah, he's absolutely right. And it's full of this stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I noticed some of the stairs that we encountered also didn't have treads.
Yeah.
some older ones,
Mhm.
like the Marble Hill. And
Yeah.
you can really see the difference between the ones that have been done post ADA and in more recent years and the older ones.
Yeah.
So it's important you're raising awareness about this. I wanted to share a few comments. Howie is watching and he said, seeing the walk around Riverdale brought me back to my college days at Manhattan College. Manhattan had a college dorm, which was an old apartment house at the top of the 238th Street steps or street stairs. We needed a couch for our apartment, and being poor college students would go out and appropriate furniture on garbage day in Riverdale. I and my roommates carried a couch up the 238th Street steps. Not sure we could still do that today, as I'm not in as good a shape as I was 50 years ago.
I've done those stairs twice, going up and going down. And, it was my boss went to Manhattan College to study engineering and told me about those stairs. And, oh, well, give me a reason to get back up there. And so I did those back in the spring, and then again just a couple weeks ago with Cindy and another friend of mine.
Yeah. And there are some that are just aesthetically pleasing. And actually, this is a nice contrast because you can see the higher, the 168th Street steps was a stair street that you wanted to share.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to you about this? What appealed to you about this climb?
Well, first of all, this was completely rebuilt only a few years ago. So it's in great condition. The railings are consistent; they're at the right height. The stairs are in great shape. But notice that the switchback pattern of the stairs. So it's not just a long flight in one direction. That gives a great view of it. What I'm talking about. That so you go back and forth, going down or going up, and it's visually great to look at. It also makes for an easier descent or easier climb. Just a beautiful set of stairs, and a really nice addition to a low-income neighborhood. And it's great that they did that. This is a stairway that gets a lot of use, and in an area that was really ravaged by COVID. A lot of first responders live there, but here's a beautiful piece of public architecture.
And this is in the Bronx, is that right?
Yeah, it's in the Bronx, East 168th Street. So it's at the top of the map there. You can see in yellow the Cross Bronx Expressway. So it's really not near major landmarks. It's some distance from Yankee Stadium. It's an even greater distance from the Bronx Zoo, but and other things. But there are all these treasures in the area. Claremont Park is really beautiful, and at the top of Claremont Park, going toward Grand Concourse, is Mount Eden Parkway, which is it's amazing. It is this really wide boulevard with a huge, wide, beautifully landscaped median, and I think it's wonderful that a street like this isn't just stuck in some rich area of the city, but is providing a good thing in a much poorer part of town.
A lot of what we've looked at has been up in the Bronx or in Upper Manhattan, but you've also done some climbing in Brooklyn with a Dom from Made in Brooklyn Tours, one of your friends, and I thought it might be fun to see some Brooklyn stair streets. There isn't as much difference in elevation, right? There are fewer stair streets in some of the boroughs versus others.
Yeah, there are a lot fewer stair streets, and the elevations are not nearly as daunting. In Brooklyn, there are 2 stair streets in Bay Ridge, and then a few in Cypress Hills, and that's it. But let's look at this one, 76th Street in Bay Ridge. This looking up 74th Street stairs. And this is about 60 steps, but very good condition. This is 76th Street, and the handrail was low, but I had this wrought iron fence that you can see that I could hold on to going up. The real treasure of that particular stairway is at the top. There's this house that has these bay windows that must have incredible views of the harbor, and yeah, that's the house right there. You know, the somewhat difficult climb up was rewarded by this beautiful cul-de-sac and that house. And that's the case with so many of these climbs, that you know, there's usually a surprise at the end, and it's a nice one.
What advice would you give to people who are looking to experience the stair streets? Obviously, they should go to your blog.
Yeah.
But is there anything in particular that you've learned? You know, where might they go for their first trip? What would you suggest?
Well, a lot of it depends on how adventuresome one is. Maybe the easiest approach is to start close to home, which is what I did not do. I live in Park Slope. I went up to Inwood for the first one of these. But if you don't want to take a long subway ride somewhere, at least at the outset, if you want to be a little closer to home, you can find these in every borough. And you probably don't have to go too far. Again, in Brooklyn, they're in Bay Ridge and Cypress Hills. In Queens, the only ones worth climbing are in Glendale, that area, and then in Maspeth and Woodside. There are a couple of small ones, and then one other stairway in College Point, but they're all over the place. And so don't be too ambitious at the outset, unless you're really looking to stick it to a stroke like I did. And see how you like it. And above all, do it with an open mind and open eyes. You're going to see stuff that you haven't seen before. You're almost certainly going to run into neighborhood characters, and it's great. And you know, on that walk that you and I did, ended up at the Manhattan College steps, Cindy. Remember that couple we were talking to? I mean, he was just off and running, talking about growing up in the neighborhood and climbing the stairs. And there was one day I was another walk in the Bronx. I was walking along the Grand Concourse, and I heard this voice next to me saying, "Don't walk so fast." And I looked at him and said, "Oh, I was just talking to my kids. They were walking ahead of them, but I meant that for you too." And yeah, be open to these wonderful fleeting encounters, and you're going to see great things. Like on the video that Clarence did, this terracotta work in an apartment building near the Joker stairs. I mean, I'd never seen that before, and so, wow, this otherwise plain Jane apartment building has really nice stuff like that.
Yeah, it was, you know, when we were at the top of those steps. Now I'm forgetting. Is that 238th where we were at the top?
Yeah.
Where we met?
Yeah.
So we met two people, and I remember the guy telling us the story of back in the 70s. That there were cars that tried to drive down the stair streets, like, yeah. And that the police had to put up barricades, and so that people wouldn't drive their cars down the stair streets. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, it was such a pleasure, and we spent about a half an hour just sharing stories. We have a few comments here that I'll share. So we have Helen, who just remarked once she heard about your work with the subway stations that she's recently heard announcements on the subway if the station is accessible, which I've noticed that too. That's exciting. That's a new addition.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's helped me directly. They're expanding it as fast as they can. The older cars won't get it, but all the new ones do.
And then we have another one here from Bob, and he said he knew you through the Park Slope Civic Council. He says hi.
Bob.
And also said, if you need the trike for balance, is there an advantage with an adaptability trike?
Well, there's an advantage with a tricycle per se, because balance is still an issue with me post-stroke. And I think one day I'll be back on two wheels, but I'm not ready yet.
Right, right. And there was one Stair Street that you wanted to share this evening that was a real highlight for you, that has a great story behind it and history. And that's this one in Manhattan, the John T. Bush Stairway. So could you take us on a little journey? I think this will be one of our final stair streets, unless people have questions and
Sure.
want to share those. So how is this relevant to where we're going to be going?
So, the stadium you see there is the old Polo Grounds where the New York Giants played. And off to the right were the main shops and yards of the Manhattan Elevated Railway. What you see circled in red at the top is the John T. Brush Stairway, and it was a way for people who lived in Washington Heights to get easily from where they live to the Polo Grounds. Polo Grounds survived the Giants moving to San Francisco, and the Mets played their first 2 seasons there, and since been demolished, and the whole site is now given over to public housing complex. But in the early years of the 20th century, the Giants were perennial champions, and the Stairway was built right after their championship 1912 season with a donation from the ball club. And so if you want to go to the next photo, that's a later look at the Polo Grounds, but still from when the Giants played there. And then we go ahead. So this is the foot of the stairway, and it was rebuilt in recent years. It had become very decrepit, but was rebuilt by the city with, and I thought this was really a class act, a very generous grant from the San Francisco Giants. So they took some pride in their heritage and helped rebuild this stairway. So midway up the stairway is this landing, and it says the John T. Brush Stairway, presented by the New York Giants, and that landing was preserved and rehabilitated as part of the reconstruction of the stairway, but it is the original element from the 1913 stairway, and it's really a great connection to the history of the area, that and a reminder of what was there. The Polo Grounds was a major league ballpark. Many times they and the Yankees were in the World Series together, which would have made for a really difficult travel day that just had to go across the bridge to go from one ballpark to the other.
Oh, it's so neat. This is Helen said, thank you so much for an interesting and informative presentation. I'm wondering, so Andrew mentions that near where we live in Windsor Terrace, there is a stair intersection at Prospect Avenue and Seeley Street. I'm sure other neighborhoods have that. How do you know if it's actually a map street or not a map street? The flights of steps as you see in the city.
the city actually maintains a list of map streets, or actually an interactive map, and I found it only the other day, and it's quite interesting that you can move a timeline bar from starting from about 1900 in a given area and show how the streetscape has changed. Now, I had completely forgotten about Seeley Street, but you're absolutely right, and it would qualify as a stair street.
All right.
More.
There we go. I'll do that one with you. I do that one almost every day.
Okay.
Okay. So do we have any other questions from home? Anybody that has anything that they'd like to ask Michael related to stair streets, or anything else that we've discussed? What about highlights of neighborhoods or restaurants, or a particularly memorable story outside of the ones that you've already shared?
Well, restaurants are a whole topic of discussion unto themselves, but this one walk in the Bronx that I was mapping out, I started at the Botanical Garden Station on Metro North, and caught a stair street around there, then another, well, two stair streets there. I thought there was only one, but it turned out there was a second, and then two more south of Fordham Road. And so as I was mapping this out, I thought, well, this would be a good excuse to end the walk on Arthur Avenue and go to the market there. And while I was doing this, I found the name of, it was an unpronounceable Albanian name, but it was a restaurant. So I clicked on it and went to the website, and lo and behold, it looked like a really good restaurant. So it was a beautiful day. So, you know, this would be a good day to try something new and eat outside. The restaurant is called Shaka Chulu, and don't ask me to spell it, but it's only a block off of Arthur Avenue. It is full-on Albanian food, which I'd never had before, and it is great. I will definitely go there again. Probably bring my Albanian barber with me.
I love that. It's, yeah. Marilyn says, who's watching, that this is such a nice program, and she thanked you, and also it's just been meaningful on so many levels. And I think, you know, it's now been just a little over 3 years.
Yeah.
I do see like your adventures in the sort of climbing steps and exploring the city. In some ways, it's a continuation of the exploring that you had been doing of the city, really, since I've met you, and probably before that. You used to bicycle all over New York City.
Oh yeah.
And so this is part of who you are, right? It's like,
oh, absolutely. And it goes back to my folks taking me to the top of the Empire State Building when I was 6, or making my father take me to see the Verrazano Bridge being built. I've just been fascinated by the city all my life. I haven't lived here all my life, but it really is in my bones, and I'm just finding a different way to explore it. I've been everywhere on my bike, but now I'm doing it on 2 feet rather than 2 wheels, and it's a kick.
is there anything you'd like to share before we sign off? Any new projects you're working on? Maybe we can, Andrew, if you can pull up the upcoming events, so we can do a recap in case anybody wants to join Michael on one of his upcoming Stair Street explorations. And while you're doing that, I'll share that Howie said this whole presentation was really interesting and informative, and he's thankful for your knowledge and spirit. So here we have this coming Saturday.
Yeah.
If people want to come, how do they do that? What should they do?
You know what? Just let me know you're coming. Info is on the contacts page on the block, and you know, I'm not looking to get anyone to come to this as distinct from a turnstile tour by any means, but just let me know you're coming, and I indicate where we're meeting and when. This Saturday we'll be taking in two stair streets, one at the beginning of the walk, one at the end of the walk, and with a lot of off the tourist trail Bronx in the middle, and ending up at a really excellent Italian restaurant.
Oh, it sounds wonderful. Is that Patricia's?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Then on the 11th, walk along the part of the Putnam Trail in Van Cortlandt Park, which was only recently graded and paved. This is on an old rail right-of-way, so we'll pick it up in Yonkers and walk down through Van Cortlandt Park and end up probably at the Bronx Ale House.
It's really so much fun. And it's been, I have to say, it's been a delight. It's gotten me, up to the Bronx, which is where I lived when I first moved to the city. But thanks to you, I'm now, after these past few trips, I'm really excited to get back and explore more of the Bronx, and especially with you. So
yeah, and I'm starting to tour Staten Island also. There are stair streets there, and a lot of history. And I did a really good walk there this past Friday. So getting all over, and once I've done all the stair streets, I'll just repeat the cycle.
has there been anyone, as just a final question, have any people who are undergoing their own sort of rehabilitation from a stroke reached out to you, or how have you been able to connect with others that are
I belong to a stroke support group at Brooklyn Methodist Hospital, and it's been really rewarding to find out how other people have dealt with this, and amazing how we all connect. We meet once a month. I've actually mapped out a couple of easy walks. No stairs involved. Say start at one accessible subway station, end at another, walk for maybe a mile. But the whole idea being just to get people out and explore the city easily. And there's a lot of interest in that. And so it's really rewarding. And I also belong to the New York City Transit Advisory Committee on Transit Accessibility, where I'm learning so much about people across the spectrum of disability. And it's between the fun aspect of this and the learning aspect of this, it's a very rich life.
Absolutely. And Helen couldn't have said it better. She said, "You're terrific, you're adventuresome, and we can hear the passion for what you do." And it's always been the case. And I'm just so grateful you came on this evening to share your story and what you're doing, and all your knowledge and what you're giving back to the city by raising awareness about the stair streets and about different neighborhoods, restaurants, people. So thank you so much. And I hope you and everyone else has a lovely evening. Again, the blog is On Foot on Wheels. You can subscribe to it. You just go to the page, subscribe, and find a time to join Michael for one of his journeys. And again, all the proceeds from tonight go to support adaptability and all the work that they're doing. So you should also check them out. If you need a bicycle repaired or you want to learn to repair bicycles, it's a great place to go.
Yep.
Thanks so much. Have a great evening, everyone.